What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, another video. Today we are going to be doing a tutorial on how I did my passion project. Now, the last passion project I did was a geode pour using some crushed fiberglass, brilliant blues, whites, some silvers were in there, and I even put some genuine quartz points in there just to kind of tie everything together, and it came out with a beautiful natural look. So today we are going to be doing something similar. Different color palette. We're going to be using some reds, some whites. We're going to be using that crushed fiberglass that I love so much. And I'm going to be taking you through the entire process with me. So with that, let's get started. First thing we have to do is we need to prime the surface. Now this is an 18 by 24 cradle wood canvas. So first thing we're going to do is just lay out some primer. I do this so I have a nice flat surface to work with. So let me get this done, and once I'm done with this, I'm going to bring you guys back and we'll get on to the next step. Okay, now we have a really nice primed surface here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to encircle this with tape. I feel it helps me build up that fiberglass in the positions that I want, and it helps keep it from spilling over the edge, because that part is a really difficult part for me to keep control of. So I'm going to go around it with a small circle here of painter's tape, giving myself that little bit of a lip that I'm going to need later. So that I can build up that fiberglass around the outside edge. It makes it really easy so that it doesn't fall off when you do it this way. Now this tape's only purpose is to hold the fiberglass on while we tack it down with our resin. All right. I have found that if I leave the tacky edge on the inside, it wants to stick to the glass. So I've started with putting down the sticky against the sticky. It also raises it up just a little bit higher so that I can get the glass right where I want it. It might not be necessary for you to do this, but I like to do this just to be on the safe side. Plus, like I said, it helps me position the glass where I want it to be instead of, you know, having to hold it and glue it or something. This helps me do what I want to do with the project. So. I hope everybody's doing wonderful today. For those of you that watch my channel often, I am kind of changing up the way I have my layout for my cameras. And I'm trying to just have a better production quality for you guys. So tell me what you think. If you like the way the studio is coming along, just let me know in the comments. I'm very excited to hear from you guys. But yeah, I've been working on that other passion project, and I was taking my time trying to get everything about it the way I wanted, and it came out gorgeous. I absolutely love it. But when I shared it with you guys in the community tab, I really didn't think I was going to get as many of you responding as you did. So thank you for that. And that's kind of what spurred this video right here. I wanted to bring you through this process and show you all the materials I'm using. I have links to every single one of the materials that I'll be using in the description below. I'll also be talking about them so you know what's what, instead of trying to dig through a list of items. All right. Now we got this. Now for this part, you don't necessarily need an iPad or anything of this nature. I like having the iPad because I can take a photo of what I just primed from above and kind of draw on it because I want to see where I want to layer in this glass. Now I have two different types of glass for this. Let's see, what do we got going on? All right. So I have two different types of glass that I'm going to be using. One of them is the Celestial Fireglass Diamond Starlight. It's reflective and it offers a kind of a darker hue because it is a mirror essentially that was crushed, right? And then I have Diamond Starlight from Celestial Fireglass that is not reflective, it's just clear. So kind of to show you the difference. That's the difference right there. One's a little darker, the other one is completely clear. So what I like to do is kind of draw where I want to put the glass. And then you'll see why in a second. So kind of using that template that I drew, this reflective glass is going to offer kind of like a shadow or a shade. It's going to provide some depth to the glass. It's going to make it look like it's deep and sunken into this wood panel because you're not even going to know this is a wood panel when we're done. All right, so now that we got this mirror glass in there, now I'm going to start putting some of the clear glass down, and that was represented by the white outline on my iPad. All right, so now I have the crushed fireglass pretty much where I want it. And now you can kind of see those areas that I was talking about with that reflective fireglass. It's kind of giving us this really cool shaded, deep appearance, because if it was all just clear glass, it would look just like this. This one I didn't want to be as deep. I wanted it to be more shallow. So you can see the comparison between this side, which is just clear glass, and then this side over here. Now that reflectiveness doesn't really show through as much, but it still gives you that depth of the glass, which I love. So now the next step is go through, find any spots that you think maybe are lacking, and you can apply a little bit more of the glass to those areas. I also have another little another item that I add to this just to give it a little bit more of a pop. Now I have these gemstones that I got from Michael's. They're just plastic. I think they were $5 or $6 for, you know, a cup of them or so. But adding this in just areas where you want a little bit of an irregularity, because these stones are different sizes, actually adds a whole lot of brilliance. Because once the resin contacts these pieces, they go completely clear and very, very highly reflective, which just accentuates the piece. And I found that it kind of helps break up the outline of all these really kind of regular, if you will, size pieces. Kind of breaks it up a little bit, adds a little bit of difference to it, if that makes sense. So we're just adding these in areas that I feel it would look nice. Now, as you can see too, the tape also really helped with keeping the glass because I tried this without it on my passion project, right, where I did the blue one. And I was trying to balance glass on the edges there, and it was just so much hassle until the last panel, because we always learn how to do it on our last try, right? The last panel, I was like, you know what, I'll put tape around this edge and see if that helps. And it did. It worked wonders. So if this is something you're going to try to do in the future, I would suggest definitely using tape along the outside edge there. It absolutely makes a difference. It makes things so much easier to deal with. All right. Now we got all these larger bits kind of tucked where we want them. Add a few more little bits. We also have a special product that I add right at the end that you guys are gonna absolutely love, because it shimmers and shines without anything, just because of the reflectiveness of the glass and all that stuff. But this product I have at the end, whew, really brings it out. Pulls everything together. It just looks phenomenal. And I just put, nah, that looks silly right there. We could have it there though. And I think you can already see those larger pieces are already adding this really cool irregularity to the shapes. And it's just gonna help pull everything together. But yeah, all right. All right, so I mixed up about half a cup of the resin that I predominantly use, which is Stone Coat Countertops epoxy resin. Now the whole purpose of this resin right here is only to tack down that glass so that it'll make it one solid piece. Now you don't want to flood it, you don't want to drench it in resin, but we are just going to take and just drizzle it over the glass. We're just trying to make very small stream, trying to make sure all the glass gets at least touched by the resin. We don't want to create this giant coat of resin yet. So right now that's all I'm doing. I'm just going over it. Very small amounts. Because this does two things. It's gonna help this glass completely adhere, and it's also going to prevent the colors that we pour onto the canvas later from seeping through, because we don't want the colors to bleed underneath the crystals. I would like the crystals to remain that white, kind of clear, glassy look that we already have. So you might want to focus just a little bit, making sure the outside edge of each section of your fiberglass gets a little bit extra love. Not too much, because we don't want it to bleed all the way out into the middle of the canvas, obviously. So that's all I'm doing. You see what I mean? When the resin touches these bigger pieces, how it really makes them really clear. Love that. And if you don't quite tack down every individual piece during this initial stage, it's okay, because we still have time throughout the project. And we're going to be doing this step again at the end to put that one product that I was telling you about that really pulls everything together. we're gonna be doing that again. So we'll be doing this whole process of the light drizzle again. So if you don't completely tack everything down, it's okay. There is wiggle room for mistakes. Now I am going to keep this tape on here until this section of resin starts to cure, and then I'm going to remove the tape. See if we have any issues with pieces that are loose on the edges, and we can address those at that point. But I do also plan on continuing the firing glass over the edge, because I really like the look. It almost looks like it's growing right out of the canvas, which is really a beautiful thing. And if you get drips on the canvas, kind of like you're seeing that I'm being kind of sloppy, it's easy. You just take a baby wipe and get those drips up. Or you can try to hold the cup over the section you're resining, so that way any drips that happen drip where you're putting the resin anyway. All right, so now I'm gonna go around it. I don't want to waste any of the resin. This is by far one of the most expensive parts of these projects, is the resin. So try to make sure we use it all. Make sure everything has a nice, even coating on it. Make sure we're gluing all these little pieces down so they're very secure. Yeah. Just making sure we do everything we can to ensure success. So what you don't want is the pieces to start breaking off on you. And I did have a couple of the looser pieces on my last one, so kind of learning from that mistake, I'm making sure to get a decent touch on everything. Even if we have a little bit running out, like past the glass, that's okay. I want to make sure it's good and solid and secure in there. All right, so we cannot continue to the next step until after this resin is dried. So now I'm going to take that baby wipe and wipe off some of these drips that dripped in the middle, just to get rid of them. They would be covered up easily enough in the future, but just to keep our workspace clean, I'm going to go through and make sure that I didn't make a big mess. And there we go. So after this is cured, I'll bring you guys back and we'll get started with the next part. I'm excited. All right, so I'm guilty, you guys. This morning I woke up first thing in the morning. It wasn't even sunny out yet, and I came in here and I peeled all the remainder of the tape off the sides, and then I glued with hot glue gun, and this is important, it was crystal clear glue sticks. I glued glass along the side following the way it was laid out on top. Now I also inlaid some quartz points in there just because the look that those things give is really striking. So here we are now, fast forward to this afternoon. That took me a few hours. Now I mixed up some resins. I've got this satin black. I have an eye candy 14 karat nugget gold, and I have a KP Pigments Arctic white. And that's what we're gonna start with. I have a little syringe here that I'm gonna try to control as best I can, but what I want is a slight gold outline along the quartz, or along the crystals. I don't want too much. I just want a small outline. That's why I only mixed up a little bit of this resin. Let me make sure we get it all out of this cup. I found that the syringe gives me even more control than I would otherwise have, because I definitely want a small stream of this. I don't want a lot, because the nature of resin is to spread. So all I'm gonna do is go along the outside edges, putting a small bead of resin. The whole purpose of this is so that it'll just stand out from the background. Gives it a little bit of color separation. That's the only purpose behind it. I did mix up quite a bit of resin, and that's okay. I have a lot of other projects that I'm working on that I can use this resin for, so none of it's gonna go to waste. And just let it run off the sides just a little bit. Maybe fill in some areas that maybe I didn't get as good as I could have. Let it start. Now I'm just following all the natural edges of the glass with this. And if some of it gets over on top of the glass, that's okay. I'll show you how to fix that. But I definitely don't want a lot. I don't want this to be the predominant color, because the thing we're doing to this at the very end is going to be gold as well. And I want that to be the subject, the star, if you will. Nope, see, I just dripped some on the glass. It's okay. Let me move over here so I have a better angle. All right. Had a lot of caffeine this morning, so my hands are a little jittery. And that's okay. Oh man, I love this gold. From Eye Candy. I got it off Amazon. But when I saw it, it was just the way it sparkles that kind of drew me in. Because I knew that with a project like this, all this glass, we've already got a lot of sparkle, that would just add to it and just make it even better. Trying to let it seep in between the stones. Man, look at that gold. Beautiful colors. Kind of a PSA, I have been using resin, and I have not been using a respirator. The resin I use has a low VOC, but for safety's sake, you should still use a respirator and mix it according to the guidelines that the manufacturer gives you. With this particular resin, they want you mixing it 50-50. Now I just did that. I don't necessarily like that. I kind of went under the glass as it was tapering out. So for all the mistakes you make, you can easily repair them with just taking a Q-tip and wipe off the parts you don't necessarily like. It's very easy to do while it's wet. The resin just comes right off. Also, if I wanted to adjust this line here because it doesn't quite contact over there, I'll just use it to kind of push the resin over. I have used it in the past to thin some lines that might have been too thick. And yeah, that's essentially what I do here. Kind of to keep a nice round shape to it. But yeah, so I'll go through, adjust a little bit. Now the resin has a working time to it, so you can't really dwell too long on that stuff. So there's the gold laid out. My two reds that I planned on using are these two. So let me get a couple cups that I can get some of this powder in there with. Need a bigger stick. All right. So one of the reds was Kayuku Red by Eye Candy. It's just a really bold, beautiful looking red. It's a liquid form, which means it'll be a solid pigment, which is awesome. There'll be no translucence to it. I'm also getting it all over my gloves, so give me 1 second here. All right. So it's like a paint almost. I think they use this for cars and all kinds of other stuff, but get a little bit of that really bold red in there. And then I got this deep red by Tecaroos. We'll see how deep it is. I haven't actually opened it yet, but I know that this one is a powder. Another PSA, when working with mica powders, you want to be very, very cautious about how you put them on the stick and how you get them off of the stick, because it's very easy to aerosolize all the small particles. And when you do that, you risk breathing it in. And the particles are so small, once they get in your lungs, it's not really something you're gonna cough out unless you inhale large quantities of it. So it could pose health risks in the future. So that would just definitely be something for you to consider when you're dealing with mica powders. Read all the warning labels, pay specific attention. If you're already prone to a certain type of health problem, asthma, what have you, just make sure you're doing it safely, guys. Because your health is far more important than any type of art. So as you see, I'm mixing it. Look at that gorgeous red. Ooh, that's beautiful. Now I'm mixing it very thoroughly because I don't want to have any problems with it curing later on. And then let's see, this one was supposed to be the deep red. And we'll be the judge of that, won't we? Yeah, it's like a candy. It's like a candy apple almost. That's pretty too. Now I have this backup 1 cup of mixed resin sitting over there just in case I need that one. I feel like this will be enough to get the coverage I need. Plus we have some whites and blacks, but those are going to be very sparing. We're just trying to make sure, because this was the powder, I want to make sure it's mixed in very well. Got resin on your finger, sir. All right. All right. So I think we'll start with this really deep red. Now, if you overlap the line, it's going to leave marks from where the stream was. So I try not to overlap because I can always push this resin into the color. Resin is all self-leveling anyway, So I don't want to put too much on there because it's going to spread. It's going to continue to spread until it gets to the point where it's butting up against either the glass or another pool of resin. All right. So let me set this off to the side. Grab a stick. I'm gonna help this join the gold. I'm just giving it a little nudge. There's another thing about resin that, you know, because I'm not as experienced with resin as some people, is resin does not want to flow on dry surfaces. So if there's no resin on that part, the resin's not going to want to flow to that point. So I know it looks like I'm disturbing the lines and scratching through to the bare surface, but because it's self-leveling, those grooves will fill in, and we always have a little extra anyway, just in case if we needed it, which I think right here might actually need some. But we're going to continue doing this along the edge. I know you hear me scratching, guys. I'm trying to be careful to not overlay the stick on that gold, because I don't want to drag the gold through all the red. I just simply want that to be like an accent color. Just sliding it along until it makes contact. And depending on how this looks after I've joined it all up, I might actually want to heat it up and kind of incorporate the gold into the red just a little. It'll leave like a small haze of that gold line going into the red. So it just depends on how I'm feeling when we get to that stage. But so far, no, I'm loving it. A little bit going there. I might need to just add a little spot of it. You know, just a little bit, maybe a light drizzle would help. But yeah, this deep red is, I mean, you guys know me, and reds are my thing. I love the color red. All right, let me come around this side to get a better angle at this, and just guiding it where it needs to go. One good thing about the stone coat resin also is that it has a pretty decent working time. I'm not too concerned with it drying out in the cup right away. that big empty cup right now, it might do it a little, but for the most part, it shouldn't dry in the cup. All right, so we got that beautiful red in there. Now we'll do another band of this red. I'm doing it a little closer this time to minimize me having to help it along as much. I feel like I'm treating this almost like a jiggle pour kind of, and I'm kind of slightly shaking the cup, trying to help it move. So the resin is a lot thicker than the acrylic paints that I'm used to working with. We just want these colors to kind of marry up. Beautiful. Now we might need a little bit more right here. And again, I'm trying to not disturb it too much because I am going to add a little bit of white for highlights and black because these reds are very similar. But let me see. Let me just get some of this to flow over the side there. And then there's a couple spots that need to be touched. There we go. All right. Now, another layer of this gorgeous deep red. I think this one might be able to be a little thicker because we do have more resin if we need to mix it. And we will. Let me get as much of this out of there as I can, so we're not wasting any of this beautiful color. All right. And let us grab that red again and another cup. And that's why we had some extra mixed. It was just for something like this. Gosh, this red is just a fantastic color. Such a beautiful red, really deep, vibrant. I love it. All right, shouldn't need that much, so maybe half of this cup, because we might need a little bit more towards the center. And we'll just mix this in. So in that last cup that I had prepared, it's already getting pretty warm. So that is a warning sign that your resin is going to be setting soon. So that is kind of giving you an idea of how long you have. You can't spend a long time with resin. That's one of the downsides for me, anyway. Is that I like to kind of take my time a little bit, feel it out. Now you're noticing more than likely these two reds, they're showing distinct color differences. And that's okay, because we're gonna address that. But I'm even seeing it myself, so. And that's because we didn't pour them out of the same batch. And that's okay. we will fix it. This other red was a little bit more red, a little deeper than the previous one. I think we used a little bit more pigment. But like I said, it's gonna be okay. We will definitely address that before it becomes a problem. All right, now let's get this in here. You don't have to take as much care going towards the center, because my vision of this piece is having a really cool design in the center anyway. And the deep reds, they're just here basically for a nice contrast color. I did think that I had too much resin, and now it's starting to almost feel like I don't have quite enough, huh? We still have half a cup of the clear, and we already have our blacks and whites mixed, so it's quite all right. One more big cup. And I'll have to mix this one off to the side because the center is completely covered in resin right now. But yes, guys, I mean, if you're mixing resin, just be careful. Safety is more important than creating a piece of art, that's for sure. I've been doing this a little bit. I'm no expert, but I do know safety is important. So nothing can replace you guys, you know what I mean? Creating something pretty is cool, but you need to be there to enjoy it too. All right, so it's kind of pushing in and filling in all those spots. And there we go, huh? All right, now we got the white. We're just gonna add some very small, minor detail work. I have a toothpick, and all I'm gonna do is just drag it through. Resin's very forgiving with this form of stuff, you know? Because once I drizzle this in there, if I heat up this line, it'll get wispy and cloudy. I know, it's looking messy. That's okay. So we can even have fun with it. We're just doing this for little fun details because you'll see once the heat gun is applied, these really stark lines kind of transform into something better. There we go. There's the white. And then with the black, maybe I won't use the popsicle stick or the toothpick, but I might just drizzle it over with the well, this would have worked a lot better with the white too, huh? Trying to simulate as much as I can as the kind of the fine little wispy lines that are in these rock formations. Well, that was a bunch of resin everywhere. Did not intend for that to happen, but okay. With the heat gun, we'll kind of buff that one out. All right, so now, oh, yeah, we did get some of that in there, huh? Some drips, sir. Right over the glass, too. So let's see if we can dig that out as much as we can, because I will notice that forever. Somebody else might not. But I would see that forever, guys. Let's see if I can... There, disturbed it enough to where it's not as noticeable. And we're gonna take the heat gun to it, get a little heat going. Because you have to pop the bubbles anyway. So this will help pop some of those bubbles, but you can also crank up the heat, kind of add a cool little blending effect to this white. Does the same thing with the black. Kind of makes it almost wispy. I actually like it, and it's creating some really cool cells in it too. I've never seen resin do that. So if somebody watching this video knows why that happened, please let me know, because that is really cool and I've never seen that happen in resin before. But we used the heat gun to kind of break up the linear structure of these lines. We need a little bit more just to, everything looks too created, if that makes any sense at all. There we go. So there you go. At this point, we're just gonna let this resin continue to just level out. And then I have a big surprise for you once it's done, and I cannot wait to show you because it's gonna look amazing. So what we're here for now is round 2. I really don't like the way that ended up. So I'm gonna do what I can to change it. I'm going to try to do a ring pour with the same color palette. I've never done a ring pour with resin before, so I don't even know if that's a possibility. Probably could try to see if anybody's done it before. What I know is I haven't. So you probably spent the last few minutes watching me make a mess, because when I was finished, I was not happy with the results. I feel like this could be so much better than it is. So I am now just layering colors. I'm even layering the clear into a giant Tupperware container, because I've never done this, so I have no idea if this is even gonna work. So this will be for science. But I have high hopes that this works out well. But I'm layering the colors just like I would with a normal ring pour. Trying to offer a little contrast. This is not acrylic paint, this is resin, so it's going to behave totally different than I'm expecting. And I'm sure we'll have some audibles. High probability that I might have to mix more, because I calculated for the size of the canvas I should need 4 cups of resin. Now I'm taking into account that there's also glass covering a portion of the table. But like I said, I've never done this. This is uncharted territory for me. So I mixed up 4 cups of resin. I'm trying to layer them in pretty decent color orders so that they will all show. But my hopes is to be able to manage to get them to spread across the whole surface. I also know resin doesn't behave like acrylic paint, so it's going to be very different to try to tilt this if the results I'm getting are not what I was expecting. But to me, what I'm seeing on the canvas right now, it really doesn't remind me of a geode. I went in kind of haphazardly, without a plan. Didn't even turn on the microphones. Let me do that now. So the sound quality is probably going to get a lot better. And we are back on. So I'm trying to layer this as best I can for a ring pour type effect. I've never done this, This is brand new to me. But figured if I'm gonna learn, I might as well learn with y'all, because then we can all learn together. I know what I hope it looks like in my mind, but oh, watch out. I'm not sure if that's gonna be the way it actually looks. So I'm gonna mix up a little bit more of this blood red. If it looks like I'm scrambling right now, it's because I kinda am. Quite nervous because I know that I've been mixing this resin now for about 15 minutes. I do not want it to start setting before I'm ready to use it. So if I seem a bit frazzled, you guys, that's why. I've also never poured resin in a ring pour. Also never poured it out of a Tupperware container. So we're doing all kinds of brand new stuff today. But I want to eke out as much of this as I possibly can, because we needed 4 cups. Hopefully this will be enough. Hopefully we'll get something pretty nice. But we won't know until it's down. All right, we'll use this last little bit of white. And just holding this container is gonna be a challenge. But I'm ready for it. Let's go. I could have probably just left it alone, but for the last 2 hours or so, I've been sitting here looking at it, and I'm just really not happy with the way it came out. Oh Lord, this is a lot of resin. So, all right, here goes nothing. This is a whole lot of resin, you guys. Let me try to prop my elbows up on something. And pour. Well, it is spilling out nicely. We're going to start introducing some darkness to it. I think I'm just going to continue with this gentle stream here. And it's just going to do what it does, you guys. I'm just hoping that it will spread enough out towards these edges. It looks like it's doing a decent job. Kind of like the dark and the light in the center. might end up with some spillover. And I think I'm okay with that. Kind of waiting for it to contact that first part of the glass. And then I want to see how it flows around it. And it's flowing around it nicely, actually. Ooh, that's dark red right there. That's glorious. Whew, bending over like that, sir. That's not good. Okay. So, we do have it flowing over the edge already. I'm wondering if I can tilt it slightly to kind of control a little bit more. I like that center point right where it is, but if I don't manipulate it, then it will just continue to flow over these edges. All right, let's see. I wonder if I was to somewhat break this tension down here a little bit. Let's have a test. See what happens down here. I just kind of let the resin touch it's still flowing. So I think that I am safe to spread it because it will continue to flow. Over this spot here. I'm just getting that part touched by the resin, right? Because there's so much. 4 cups was probably just enough to allow the effect that I'm looking for. I do like this backdrop better than the previous one. Oh, watch out. Now see, to me that looks more like a geode than what I had previously. So I am very, very happy with the way this is coming along here. It doesn't have really stark reds, but what it does have. All right, so we're good there. What it does have is the lines that I was looking for. Lots of bubbles though. But it looks a heck of a lot more like a geode than the previous incarnation, for sure. I can already tell that I'm gonna have to check on this regularly to be sure to pop any bubbles and just tend to it. Scrape the edges. So many bubbles, you guys. No idea. What I don't want to do is offer too much heat, because then it's going to disturb all the lines that are in this. But no, I assume it's going to flow over these edges for a decent amount of time. I love how it's really dark around the sides here, and then it's this bright, rich red on the inside. But it's still dark because we did add some white to this, and the white kind of gotten just eaten up, which I ain't even gonna lie, I'm good with. I am so good with that. All right, let me see what's going on the sides. All right, so I'm gonna keep tending to this, but I'll bring you guys back and we will do the final part, and I'm so excited about that part. Let's go. We're back. This has completely dried, cured. The only thing I don't like was because I had to put that second layer of resin on here because I was so unhappy with that first layer that it went over the initial barrier that I had along this wall. And some of it kind of seeped in and underneath tiny little nooks and crannies that weren't completely sealed. But I have an idea to try to fix that. But let me show you the next part. The next part, I'm going to be doing a Om mandala stencil over this. And I think it's going to be beautiful. So I'm going to do the same process. I saw it on another channel using Pebeo gel medium. And then I'm going to be using some Pebeo metallic rich iridescent gold over the top. So let me just tape this thing down. I've actually never done this before, so just doing this is going to be intimidating by itself, but I feel like that Om stencil right in the middle is going to bring so much peace and harmony to this composition here. So I got it centered, and now I'm just taping the stencil down. I'm leaving some lift points, so when we go to lift this up afterwards, we can get it up, you guys. Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited. Whenever I do something new, I always get kind of giddy, but yeah, this is, oh, get back. This is crazy. All right. I'm just trying to fold over some ends so that I have a point to grab this tape from, because I don't want to be scratching at the surface or, you know, trying to bend the stencil up. All right, so I think the best way to go about doing this is just to do it, right? So let me get some of this gel medium in there. And from everybody I've seen, they just say you just be gentle with it and careful. Try to not push it underneath the stencil. I'm not sure. So I'm going to try to be as gentle with it. I'm not like scraping at it. I just want it to fully fill in these spaces here. This looks pretty cool already, I'm not gonna lie. This is a fun little experiment since I've never done this before, you know? But yeah, it seems to be filling in these holes quite well, I think, and also because we have a super level surface, because it's just resin, maybe that's helping it along. Goodness. Okay, this is strangely satisfying. Because it's almost like it's just filling in these gaps and there's just minimal effort involved. I like this. It's cool, I can just focus on like just relaxing and not worrying too much about anything really. Hold on, let me see if I could just squeeze it on the spatula. Oh goodness. One thing I didn't check was how much time do I have to work with this before it starts to set. That's something I'm not entirely sure of. But I don't think we'll get to that point with this stuff. I think we'll have a nice coat and something really awesome to work with before we get to any point that it would look like it's gonna start drying on us. There's so many fine edges. If this does bleed underneath, it's gonna be very tedious to try to clean. So that's why I am trying to be careful now. Because if I'm careful now, hopefully the cleanup will be very easy. All right. I probably could have used a larger spatula, you guys. But, you know, I'm still learning. Never even attempted anything like this before, but I've seen other people do it with great success, so I had to try. And if I messed it up, I would have to try again. It's kind of the way I do things. All right, you guys. We are almost there. I think we got a good coat. Quite happy with that. So I've asked a couple people what they think color-wise. Some people say they don't prefer the gold. I feel like gold and red would go really well together. So, yeah, I think we're gonna stick with it. All right, so from what I've seen to create this cool little textured effect, just doing rays, and I know I'm using more paint than I probably need, you guys. Ooh. This is such a gorgeous gold color, though. All right. So let's see here. Let's just pat this down. All right. Look at this brilliant shine of this gold, though. And I might have just messed up, but that remains to be seen. I think I went a little too hard on that side right there. Trying to not waste any of this paint. And I still know I need a little bit more to cover all the spots. Yes, you know, that's not good. I was getting paint on the bare part, so I'm gonna try to spatch this on real quick. And then take my trusty baby wipe and just wipe before it dries, because it's a beautiful shiny surface with this resin, so it should be fairly easy to remove any of the splatter spots. I am going to try to make sure that I'm not missing any key areas that were out towards the sides and maybe hidden a little bit. But I think we're good for the most part. All right, but this is like the moment. You guys, you ready? I'm gonna try my best to be as careful removing this as I can. All right. Ooh, I lifted it a little. And again, I lifted it a little, but here we go. You're ready. Come on. All right. It's not horrible. I kind of like the texture that way, actually. Let me take this somewhere so that I can not waste this paint. That maybe I laid it on a little too thick. There are a couple areas where it did leak, but there's not anywhere near as many as I thought I might have. So that's amazing. I'm just going to take a Q-tip and kind of very, very carefully go around the areas that I think could use it. But yeah, I love the texture of that. That's beautiful, guys. I love how it's raised, but there's lines in it also. I think it looks gorgeous, you guys. Really do. Man, so I'm gonna move this off. I want this to fully dry cure, and I want to have a nice clear coat of resin. And I think I want to add a couple little details of gold to cover up along the border here where it kind of bled through. And I think the gold border tied into this gold symbol will really set this thing off and make it fantastic. I love it.
If you want to watch another video just like this, click the screen right now and I'll see you there.